Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. Frankly, a different kind of video to the stuff I usually make, but still something I wanted to share with you guys. After all, you probably searched for this video anyways. But to put that aside, a couple of months ago I opened up my own Etsy shop without any prior experience in selling anything online. And I mean, I haven't even touched the Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. I mean, no experience whatsoever. This might have been my first mistake, but hey, any chance to learn is time not wasted. And that's why I'm here to share with you my own experiences as a new seller, so you don't make the same mistakes that I have. Now let's get into it. The first thing you should know before even opening up your shop is that no one makes their first sale overnight. This all may sound a bit discouraging at first, but building up your own storefront is a long, albeit rewarding process. I personally received my first order a little over a month in, but even that was after I put some money in some ads. I will get to that later on, but the point is to be patient. Most people only buy from established names, so you need to establish yours. The simplest way I've found to do this is by getting your friends or family to support your business. But just be careful, as shilling is strictly against Etsy's terms of service. Don't force anyone to buy your listings. If someone wants your product, then let them buy it. A second thing I noticed almost immediately is that you will get swarmed with phishing bots in your DMs. Now these scam messages have pretty much stopped for me after I've gotten a couple of sales, and this problem may have been resolved as of uploading this video, but I cannot stress how many scam messages I received when I first opened my account. Essentially how these scams work is someone will DM you and say that they're with Etsy support team and will try to trick you into giving up your banking details. Please do not do this. Direct messages from Etsy support will always be marked with a little tag, and anything else is just a phishing bot. Like I said, these bots will go away as they seem to only target new and inexperienced users, but in the meantime, you can block and report these accounts before they have the chance to scam anyone else. There are a lot of hurdles in the way of getting your first order, but there are some things you can do to give yourself some better odds at finding a potential customer. Etsy is a very competitive platform with millions of other storefronts out there, but just knowing how to make the most of it will put you at an advantage that many others are simply not bothered to take. For starters, it's not a bad idea to invest in some ads, and I'm not talking about the malicious ones you see on YouTube. These ads are essentially spots near the top of a search and will give your listing much more exposure than if it wasn't advertised. The more people who see your listing, the better the chance one of those people will actually buy something. You can also pay more for it to appear much more frequently, but $1 worked well enough for me so far. Unfortunately, Etsy and online selling in general is not a cheap gig to get into, and you will have to burn through a few dollars before you can see some results. However, when it does pay off, it is very rewarding. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter how many ads you buy if your tags are out of order. As with literally any other platform on the internet, Etsy uses tags and keywords to categorize its listings. If you ignore your tags, then your listing has no hope for showing up on a search, since this is what the search actually looks for. Let's say you're selling a shirt with a picture of a cat on it. You could just list it as shirt with a picture of a cat on it, but then it will only show up if someone specifically searches for that phrase. Instead, we can add the tag graphic tees, and now it will show up under searches for graphic tees. Tags for cats and shirts could also work. If the graphic is hand-drawn, you can add a tag for hand-drawn designs. The more tags, the better. Just don't add tags that are too niche or don't apply to the product at all. You would not tag dogs or pants under a listing for a cat shirt. Also make sure to add a lot of good photos and videos. These won't influence how frequently your listing appears in the search, but it will give your buyer more to look at, and everything helps. Another thing you should look at is your market. It is important to know who you're selling to, and even more important to know your competition. This is where things get a bit boring and technical, but that's just economics. Who would have guessed? If you have a lot of competition for the product you're selling, the market you're trying to break into is too saturated, and I wouldn't recommend starting there. Jewelry, crochet, soap, art prints, clothing. These are all incredibly popular in saturated markets, as these are all items that are frequently listed on the site. That doesn't mean you shouldn't sell these things, but you should try to be a bit more niche with your marketing if you want a chance at your listing being seen. Personally, my first 2 listings are way too broad with how I marketed them, and as a result, no one ever saw them. This doesn't mean those items are bad, but it does mean they're just drops in an ocean, so to speak. No one wants to buy my Oni mask when there are hundreds of others to choose from, especially when I'm up against more experienced sellers. That brings up another point, which is to know the value of your work. Etsy isn't only for professionals, and I've seen sellers of all skill levels on this platform. The whole point of this site is to be a place where anyone from beginners to masters can sell whatever they make. But that doesn't mean you should be unrealistic. I'm honestly going to sound absolutely horrible for saying this, but don't charge professional prices when your work is not professional quality. There is a good reason why Etsy has a reputation for overcharging stuff, and this is it. I make 3D printed masks since that's the easiest thing I found to sculpt on Blender, and let's just say they're not Hollywood quality by any means, but they still have a value to them. I have seen film quality masks on the site for several hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, I decided to price mine at $100. Whether that is a good price or not is evidently up to the buyer, but this price point has worked well for me so far. It is a good midpoint between, say, the commercial quality stuff on Amazon and the masterpieces made at established studios. Also, make sure not to undercharge, as you still need to make up for the cost to actually make your listing item. There's no point in having a shop if you're just going to lose money. This is pretty much everything I did to make my first sale. However, I was left scratching my head when it came time to actually pack and ship the thing. The first thing you should immediately do is buy, save, and print your label. A lot of people use label makers, but a standard printer with some tape will work just as well. Etsy will automatically create a shipping label as soon as an order is placed, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. However, you are still in charge of your own packaging. Do not skimp out on cushioning your product, and do not use a crappy box. The customer is not paying for a nice handmade product just for it to show up in pieces. Also, be sure to include a thank you card with your packaging. It's a small gesture, but Etsy buyers love this kind of stuff, especially if it comes with a discount code. I've also seen a lot of people include stickers and other freebies in their orders, but I've yet to try that myself, so I can't really speak personally on that front. Customers also love good communication. If you have to delay shipping because the post offices are closed or for some other reason, then don't hesitate to tell the buyer. If you just got around to dropping off the package, then good. Tell the buyer their order is on the way. When the package does arrive, write the customer a follow-up and ask if the order arrived in good condition. This may sound a bit hand-holdy, but I found that customers love to know these things instead of just being left in the dark. Just let them know what they need to know, but don't spam them every single day. Word your messages well and try your best to sound professional. It's all the little things like this that set the good storefronts apart from the great ones. It's still very important to keep in mind that I've practically just started and still have a long way to go before I'd consider myself proficient in using this site. This is all that has worked for me, and every storefront is different. What works well for my 3D printing business might not necessarily be the best for yours, and vice versa. In the end, just do what works best for you. I'll make an update in a couple of months, but in the meantime, I just made an Instagram page for my storefront, where I'll be posting my progress as I go. There will be a link for that in the description if you're into that sort of thing. I also plan on making a longer video showcasing how I actually make the items on my listings, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.